Imagine a place where you can stand in 3 different states at once. A landscape shaped by ancient volcanoes, glacial power, and quirky colonial accidents. Welcome to Massachusetts, a state where each hill, river, and boundary hides a story more bizarre than the last. If you think you know Massachusetts, think again. These are the 50 Massachusetts geography facts you absolutely never knew. So buckle up, because the Bay State is about to blow your mind. Let's start with a bird's eye view. Massachusetts might seem like just another compact New England state, but its geography is anything but average. Take Mount Greylock. While not the tallest peak in the region, at 3,491 feet, its sudden rise from the Berkshire Valley gives it an epic, almost otherworldly presence. On a clear day, you can stand at the Veterans War Memorial Tower atop Greylock, gaze out, and spot both Vermont and New York in the distance. The entire mountain is wrapped in old-growth forest, preserved as a state reservation. Think Tolkien, but East Coast. Want to know how obsessed New Englanders are with boundaries? Massachusetts borders 6 different states, and its meeting point with New York and Connecticut is so remote, you have to really want it to get there. Trek far enough and you'll find the Tri-State Marker, a granite monument hidden among the woods. Snap a selfie there. You'll literally have a foot in 3 states at the same time. Don't even get started on the coastline. The Massachusetts coast is the perfect example of the coastline paradox. You'd think it's around 192 miles long if you just drew a line on a map. But if you trace every tidal marsh, every bay and inlet, suddenly you've got over 1,500 miles of shore. The reason? Cape Cod and the Boston Harbor, with their wildly convoluted shapes, stretch the coastline further than you could ever walk in a day. Speaking of Cape Cod, did you know it's just a pile of glacial debris? That arm-shaped curve jutting out into the Atlantic came from the Laurentide ice sheet bulldozing sand and rock, then dumping it at the edge over 15,000 years ago. It's called a terminal moraine, and it means this iconic landscape, as solid as it looks, is actually slowly dissolving back into the sea. Nature's sandcastle, constantly rebuilt with every storm. Now picture this. You're wandering the sandy plains of Cape Cod and stumble upon a hidden watering hole. That's one of the region's hundreds of kettle ponds. Perfectly circular, deep lakes formed when huge hunks of glacial ice snapped off, got buried, and slowly melted, leaving behind pristine, spring-fed depressions. Imagine the icebergs that made those. It's not just the Titanic that collides with glaciers. And if circular lakes aren't wild enough, Massachusetts rivers carve out actual potholes. Giant ones. The Westfield River in the western part of the state cuts so deeply and powerfully, swirling pebbles bore holes right into the stone bedrock. Some are big enough to stand in. Water can carve through rock if you just give it a few thousand years. And then there's the secret volcano. Yes, Massachusetts has volcanic heritage. Up near the northern border, a portion of the state sits on the edge of the ancient Oipi Ring Dike complex. It's the collapsed caldera of a long-dead volcano, most of it hidden in New Hampshire. So under your hiking boots, there could be echoes of eruptions that shook the world millions of years ago. You want something even creepier? The island of Nantucket is literally drifting. Nope, not metaphorically. Geological surveys show Nantucket moves toward the mainland at a rate of about 6 inches every year, as the Atlantic erodes the east side and deposits sand on the west. It's like a slow-motion geological waltz. Blink, and it's in the same spot, but give it time, and it's dancing back to shore. On Martha's Vineyard, the colorful Gayhead Cliffs, or Aquina Cliffs, are nothing short of a geological masterpiece. These multicolored layers of clay were buckled and lifted by the last glacial push, and now hold everything from ancient whale bones to fossilized shark teeth. Every time erosion trims the cliffs, new pieces of prehistoric Massachusetts are revealed. And is there a more legendary rock than Plymouth Rock? The supposed landing site of the Pilgrims, this boulder isn't actually from Plymouth at all. It's a glacial erratic, a chunk of granite carried over who knows how many miles by the last ice sheet. Over the centuries, it's been broken, whittled down, and moved more times than an overexcited tourist. These days, Plymouth Rock is more symbol than stone, and definitely not in its original shape or spot. For sprawling water views, Massachusetts doesn't disappoint either. The state's largest natural lake has the indigenous Nipmuc name, Lake Chargoga Gogman Chauga Gog Chaubuna Gu Ngamaug. Locals just call it Webster Lake to save their breath. That long name? Supposedly, it means, you fish on your side, I fish on my side, and nobody fishes in the middle. Now that's a peace treaty worth remembering. But man-made reservoirs can rewrite geographies entirely. Take the massive Quabbin Reservoir, created in the 1930s to quench Boston's thirst. This project didn't just fill an empty valley. It submerged 4 towns, whose foundations still reappear during extreme droughts. Graves were moved, homes demolished, and today it's a hidden world beneath the surface. Head further west to the sharp spine-like Holyoke Range near Amherst and Northampton. Unlike most New England mountains, which run north-south, the Holyoke Range jets out east to west, thanks to a huge old fault block that thrust up hard basalt and sandstone. Climb it and you're walking a true geological oddball. But Boston itself? It's built on what is, essentially, dirt from somewhere else. In the 19th century, laborers filled tidal flats and marshes with earth hauled from the nearby Needham and Dedham Hills. Neighborhoods like Back Bay, South End, and much of the financial district all sit atop what used to be water. Present-day Boston has literally doubled in size thanks to massive land reclamation. Look closely at a Massachusetts map, and you'll spot weird leftover patches called gores. Marlborough Gore is perhaps the quirkiest, an unincorporated old colonial land fragment that didn't quite fit when the town borders were drawn up. This little sliver is a relic of map-making oddities, still unclaimed centuries later. Building right through the heart of the formidable Berkshires, Massachusetts pulled off an engineering miracle. The Hoosac Tunnel, finished in 1875. Stretching nearly 5 miles, a staggering feat for its era. This railway tunnel was so dangerous it earned the nickname the Bloody Pit. The scale and cost set national records, but it linked Boston to the west for good. Huntington, Massachusetts may be the ultimate split personality. Thanks to the Worthington-Huntington uplands, this small town had to grow with 2 separate centers. The mountain ridge so thoroughly divided the community that, for generations, people hardly mingled, and even maintained 2 distinct town identities. Sometimes, the terrain calls the shots, no matter what your mayor says. The state's underlying rocks tell another powerful story. Much of Massachusetts, especially in the central and western areas, shares the same rugged granite that gives New Hampshire its Granite State nickname. The Blue Hills, just south of Boston, are a chunk of this ancient glacier-scoured bedrock, stubborn, durable, and tough as, well, granite. Ready for a hike? The Appalachian Trail slices straight across Massachusetts for 90 wild, rugged miles. The climb up Mount Greylock is legendary, a challenge packed with wild forests, steep stream crossings, and real solitude. The next time you're lost in nature west of the Connecticut River, remember, Massachusetts is fierce wilderness, not just cozy Boston suburbs. Boston Harbor's Long Island once had a bridge, connecting this urban outpost to the mainland and providing vital public services to the city. But after the bridge was deemed unsafe and torn down, the whole island was cut off, now only accessible by boat. Urban isolation in the heart of one of America's oldest cities. No New England wildlife documentary is complete without the Great Marsh. Over 20,000 acres of continuous salt marsh, stretching from Cape Ann all the way to New Hampshire. It's an ecological wonder. Constantly submerged and exposed by tides, acting as a huge carbon sink and providing a vital nursery for marine life. This living landscape changes daily with the cycle of the sea. Massachusetts is cranberry country, especially near Plymouth and Carver. But those picturesque cranberry bogs are a marvel of human engineering, not nature. Cultivating cranberries meant constructing specialized man-made wetlands on glacial sand and peat. Each year, the fields are deliberately flooded for a dramatic harvest, a unique autumn spectacle you won't find anywhere else in America. Keep an eye out for the rich, silty soils of the Pioneer Valley. Unlike most of New England's rocky glacial leftovers, this area captured thousands of years' worth of fine sediment from the Connecticut River. The result? Massachusetts' most productive breadbasket, where farmland feeds the state and beyond. Even more bizarre, the Pioneer Valley once housed massive shade-grown tobacco fields, used for cigar wrappers. Enormous white tent-like nettings were stretched over the plants, giving the landscape a surreal look, like a carnival in a cornfield. History and geology blend in Quincy, the original granite city. Back in the early days of the Republic, its enormous quarries supplied stone for everything from Boston's Custom House to the Bunker Hill Monument. So much granite was hauled out that massive pits scar the local landscape today, a testament to centuries of building America out of New England rock. Quincy didn't just shape Boston's skyline. The nation's very first commercial railway was built there in 1826, not as a passenger train, but to haul granite blocks from the quarries to the coast. That granite railway was the industrial backbone of early America, a rolling solution to a monumental problem. Ever heard of Lowell? This industrial city was planned around a maze of canals and locks, diverting water from the powerful Merrimack River, a marvel of hydraulic engineering at the heart of America's textile revolution. The canals let mills hum day and night, turning the city into a living, moving machine. Follow the water, and you'll see how geography fuels industry. Massachusetts islands are dramatic too. Plum Island is the poster child for coastal volatility. Storms, waves, and winds reshape its beaches and shorelines each year. Stand on one end in spring, come back in fall, and the land has morphed. Coastlines here are works in perpetual progress. Who has the best hills? It's not just Rome. Worcester, the second largest city, sits atop 7 major hills: Crown, Union, Chandler, and others, making for wild neighborhoods and some of the oddest city driving in New England. If you ever get lost, just remember, you're probably either going up or down. The state's westernmost town is Mount Washington, perched high in the remote Berkshires. Getting there means navigating winding, high-elevation roads that drop steeply toward New York and Connecticut. It's not just remote, it's a place of dramatic, misty isolation that feels like stepping into another world. Where's the lowest ground in Massachusetts? Obvious answer: sea level along the Atlantic. But the deepest inland depression is the Quabbin Reservoir Basin, a reminder of the state's incredible topographic range, from the highest peaks down to the man-made valleys beneath the water. Even travelers take shortcuts. The Cape Cod Canal, a 7-mile man-made waterway, was dug to spare sailors the risky trip around the tip of the Cape. Today, it divides the upper arm of Cape Cod from the rest of the state, technically making it an island. Its reversing tidal currents are legendary. Navigate with care, or risk being swept the wrong way. The Berkshires may look gentle and rolling today, but they're the worn-down bones of ancient mountain ranges. These hills were once part of the towering Appalachian orogeny, mountains built over 300 million years ago. All that's left now are softened peaks, the shattered survivors of relentless erosion. The geological term, monadnock, a mountain that rises solo from the surrounding land, gets its name from Mount Monadnock in New Hampshire. Massachusetts has its own Inselbergs, lone, stubborn peaks of hard stone that glaciers couldn't grind away while everything around them was scoured smooth. Even Boston Harbor's islands aren't simple. Most, including Deer Island and Spectacle Island, are drumlins, teardrop-shaped hills of tightly packed glacial debris, shaped and streamlined by the ice as it advanced and retreated. The orientation of each hill reveals which way the glacier was moving thousands of years ago. Communities harnessed their landscape in the most imaginative ways. The Hancock Shaker Village in the Berkshires was built to exploit every stream, elevation, and patch of forest. The very landscape shaped the Shakers' spiritual and practical lives, turning geography into a way of life. Some places are magnets for adventure. The Deerfield River, with its steep drops from upland plateaus into the valley, creates fierce whitewater perfect for outdoor sports. Its natural hydroelectric power is just another bonus. Water rushing from dense highlands to fertile lowlands harnesses both thrill seekers and turbines. Scars of the last ice age can still be seen across Massachusetts. Glacial striations, scratch marks cut deep into bedrock, dot the landscape, left behind by stones trapped at the base of an unstoppable continental glacier. Want a fingerprint of the planet's past? Find a striated boulder and run your hand along grooves scorched by ice. Boston has so many bridges, it's called the City of Bridges. With rivers like the Charles, Mystic, and Neponset breaking up the city's geography, plus tidal flats and rail easements, the only way to connect neighborhoods is over water. That patchwork cityscape? Every bridge tells a story. Along the South Shore and Cape Cod, shallow salt ponds are everywhere. These tidal pools are regularly refreshed with both ocean and fresh water, creating unique ecosystems where wildlife thrives, habitats found almost nowhere else on Earth. Want panoramic views? The Blue Hills Reservation just south of Boston features peaks made of stubborn granite. From here, survey the entire city skyline all the way to the Atlantic, a vantage point that made these highlands crucial long before city lights dotted the horizon. Or see the rolling sand dunes of Provincetown at the Cape's fingertip. Unlike anything else in New England, the shifting sands are whipped into ever-changing hills and valleys by wind and waves. Walking here feels like a New England desert, mysterious, stark, and full of stories. Boston's location isn't random. It sits in the Boston Basin, a naturally low-lying depression circled by harder, older rock formations. This sheltered shape made the site perfect for building a harbor, city, and ultimately, a hub for new arrivals to the continent. On the far edge, the Elizabeth Islands stretch out from the coast, offering the state's westernmost piece of land, Gosnold and tiny Cuttyhunk. Their isolation, bobbing alone in the Atlantic, gives them a vibe unlike anywhere mainland. If you want to truly escape, catch a boat there. Ancient stories lurk in the rocks themselves. The oldest stones are found in the remote uplands of western Massachusetts. Schists and gneisses compress deep beneath past mountain chains, some dating back more than 600 million years. Before New England, before even the Appalachians, these stones formed the base of lost worlds. Unique local laws sprout from unique geographies. The Massachusetts Tidelands Law, dating from the 1640s, establishes public rights between high and low tides. You can fish, foul, or navigate anywhere along the tidal mark, even if the sand is privately owned. Law and land, tangled together for centuries. And for a slice of local irony, the town of Florida sits in the snowy, freezing, wind-lashed highlands of the Berkshires. It's one of the coldest, harshest spots in the state, named after, you guessed it, the Sunshine State. The Charles River twists and turns for over 80 miles from source to the Boston Harbor. But if you measure the straight-line distance, it's only about 25 miles. The river's wild meanders are the result of a gentle gradient and low-lying terrain. In other words, it just likes to take its time. And perhaps the strangest and most important fact of all, Massachusetts is, geographically and culturally, two completely different worlds. The east is densely populated, ocean-influenced, and carved by glaciers, while the west is mountainous, isolated, and shaped by ancient uplifts. It's almost as if two states, one coastal, one highland, were stitched together, creating the strange, dynamic geography that defines Massachusetts today. Unlock more mind-blowing geography facts. Subscribe for more and drop your favorite Massachusetts secret in the comments below.